problem, just so you know.
Me too. I think it gets to this time of the week, and my brain goes to mush sometimes. But I'll try and keep it together for the next 45 minutes at least. So I think, as I said, what I wanted to do is I just wanted to start off with a presentation that it's just a few slides, just to really orient us on what being a challenge team member is really all about. I gave a little bit of context during town hall, but we can double click on that now. Okay, so if no one minds, I will start sharing. Well, I'll tell you what, before I do that, why don't everybody that was a challenge team member that had just raised their little emoji, why don't you just introduce yourselves, what challenge you are, you're stewarding, you're helping us out with, and yeah, just give us some context where you're coming from. Let me start with Torsten.
Get off mute. Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Torsten. I'm part of the challenge team for multilingual, and yeah, kind of like we had our first meeting with people who kind of got funded, and it was fun. And there are kind of like interesting things meeting people the first time when you more or less kind of see proposals, but now kind of you see them in real life, and it becomes all real by a sudden. So good experience. And just yeah, say if you haven't done it, you're motivated to do it. It's worthwhile.
Cool, yeah, and just to sort of call out, unfortunately, because I don't have the co-host making powers, I can't make everybody else co-hosts so that you can rename yourselves. Joey, why don't I come to you next?
Hi, I'm boosting Cardano's my environment, and it's been very exciting. You meet a lot of people, see some interesting projects, and I highly recommend it.
Awesome. John, how about come to you?
Yeah, I'm from the Global Sustainable Independent SBOs Challenge, and it's really good just to meet up with people who've got projects in mind for topics that I'm interested in. So, you know, just another facet of the community that I'm really enjoying, and already had like people feeding it. Even though I wasn't a funded proposer, they were feeding into me and wanting to collaborate later on as well. So, you know, it works both ways. You help people out, they help you. It's good.
Yeah, I really agree with that. It's reciprocal, right? The more you give, I think, the more that you get back. Alex.
Hey, so I'm Alex. I'm with Gamers Unchained, and it's been a real pleasure being a member of the challenge team, well, the sole member of this challenge team. It's really nice because there are lots of people really enthusiastic about this particular challenge. We had breakout rooms for several weeks after Fund 7 started, lots of good discussions. And yeah, we also have Gamers Unchained in Fund 8. So really cool.
Thanks very much, Alex. Nana, how are you today?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm good. What about you?
I'm okay.
So,
I'm okay.
yeah, great. So I'm Nana Safo from Ghana, and I'm actually stewarding the Nation Building Drafts Challenge. And I would want to encourage, you know, everybody here who is having a proposal regarding that particular challenge, you know, get in touch with us via our Discord, and then let's get things rolling from there. Thank you.
And Amelia, how are you?
Okay, hey, I'm Emilia from Ghana. I'm with WADA team, and I'm in the Grow Africa Grow Cardano team. And we are going to work hard to get impactful proposals into the challenge. Yeah. And I'm glad to meet all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amelia. And Ruslan, how about you? How are you?
Hi, sounds good. I am from Solazat Identity Challenge and represent a team which with the idea to build SaaS for easy work with the credentials, for easy credentials. And our main look is to find potential people who will work with use the SaaS and where our work will be applicable in the real life.
Thank you so much. And certainly last but not least, Patrick, how are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. I'm part of the open source challenge team for Pound 7. I want to make clear an uncomfortable truth. I think the whole open source challenge team missed yesterday's meeting. I joined late. That should not be counted as participating. I want to make up and meet the funded proposals. The people that you understand. And I also think that there were kind of unclear information, and I think we are here to improve whatever we are working on. So on our side, for the challenge team, our understanding was we had to make the presentation, try to explain what we were doing, but it was not really clear any deadline and like how to meet the funded proposals. And I'm really the one struggling with the Catalyst Town Hall. Let me tell you that it took me like 35 minutes today to join the town hall, and then I joined when Charles was not there anymore. And I still have always this problem. But really, that's about me. Also, the other guys, they didn't get the information. It would be really essential to have clear information or a channel that we can follow.
Do you follow the, I mean, just out of interest, do you follow the Telegram Catalyst announcements channel?
Oh, honestly, Telegram is not was not our primary channel. Basically, we created a Discord group. We tried to interact on there, and we were disconnected from Telegram. So I think the main reason is nobody was paying attention to Telegram.
I see. Okay, well, I mean, that is our primary channel of communication. So it is worthwhile. I mean, the other thing to think about is Danny sends out a Catalyst weekly email on Fridays. That's another really good place to kind of get the lowdown on what's happened for last week and what's coming up next week. Generally, all the links are contained in that. I mean, with Town Hall, the link is pretty much static, I believe. So hopefully you should be able just to put it in your diary, and you should be able to join at that point. I mean, that's, yeah, it's a little bit of, I appreciate that Telegram's not always the place that everybody is in, but it is what we use. And if we can't use that, then I would say get signed up to the newsletter. But, you know, certainly with challenge teams, come back on topic, this is a pilot. I think first and foremost, we're now in the first iteration of the pilot, essentially, where we're now looking to take on board information from the community, and also talk about, you know, what the sort of process is currently, and then look to change that. And we've been responsive to some of the feedback already, hence why would the remuneration levels have gone up, and details in terms of process is going to sort of develop over time. You know, I can only sort of apologize if you've had some confusion over messaging. I think, you know, we can certainly take it on board that there's always improvements that can be made, right? So I'll if it's okay, I'm going to share a few slides. I'll talk through those. I'll try and go through them fairly quickly. But just to sort of also set the scene, in case, you know, for the avoidance of doubt for anybody else that's come to this breakout session that isn't clear, every one of the challenge team members are community members. They're not IOG, they're not Cardano Foundation, they're not Emergo. Often they're funded proposers, or, you know, we're nearly funded, right? And have been participating in the community, maybe as voters or as community advisors, or just as like shining beacons of light, and you know, now are wanting to be involved in another way. And the reason really for this challenge teams initiative is that there's a really, you know, comparatively comparing to how many projects are being funded by Catalyst, there's a really small number of core team, right? And we've got a lot to coordinate, and a lot to try to communicate and bring people together. And you know, it's a bottom-up effort rather than a top-down effort, really. And that's the most important part to I think communicate, that what we're trying to do, and when I say we, I mean the community, Catalyst community, is we're trying to get great outcomes, right? And so there's a real power in the approach of, you know, enabling us all to be able to play a part. And I think the challenge teams is like a new dimension of us playing a part. You know, I work for IOG, but I sort of see myself as like an extended community member, really. I was certainly, you know, Dor mentioned earlier on about, you know, celebrating the lurkers. I was a lurker. I was definitely a lurker when I first started. And you know, this sort of initiative, if I wasn't in the role that I'm in now, will probably be the sort of thing that I would have taken by the horns. And so, okay, I'm going to share some slides. Oh, hang on. No, I'm sharing slides rather than presenting slides. Excuse me. It's getting to that time of the day. Okay. So, Fund 8 challenge teams, as I said earlier on in the... Oh, Joey, have you got a question to ask? I'll tell you what I can also do.
No question.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'll also do. I will share the slides with you all so you can all have a look at them whilst we're talking, if you want. Yeah, I will come to some questions in a minute. I'll well, just to address that one. Right now, there's nothing stopping a proposer or a CA or a funded project team from also being a challenge team member. Let's just get that one really clear right up front. So the idea really is that people that have some sort of passion or domain knowledge about the subject and the challenge and the intention behind the challenge, they make really good stewards for this challenge, because, you know, they're the ones that are, you know, passionate about the cause. They're the ones that care about seeing great outcomes come as a result of, you know, this challenge being funded and dozens of projects, you know, being born into the world. But unfortunately, because we've got a limited number of internal Catalyst team members, it's just really difficult to be able to make sure that these outcomes are realized and communicated, and most importantly, back to the community. So, you know, this is the sort of pillar and the foundations around what the challenge team is all about. It's going to take passionate people, maybe those with some expertise in the space, and those that, you know, care about sort of seeing good outcomes come as a result, to step up and play an active role. And the role is really about not mentoring, or no, sorry, not project managing, not auditing and making sure that you're micromanaging the projects that are being funded. It's got nothing to do with that. It is about being a point of contact and maybe a mentor, and someone that's able to take the work of the funded teams and, you know, be able to generate some insights from that, and then be able to communicate that back to the community. So this is, you know, it's a translator role, if anything. It's a translator role to help translate the progress and the success of the projects that are being funded in a challenge, and then be able to communicate them back to the community, so that, you know, the voters feel like the challenge is being addressed, that they have some understanding as to where those projects are. You know, they've voted for them in, you know, Fund 7, but then where are they at the end of Fund 8, right? Like, what's happened to those projects? Sure, we provide a platform within Town Hall to be able to allow teams to step up, but we really think that there's a lot of power to be and insights to be gained by having people play a role in sharing the successes, and maybe not even the successes, sometimes the challenges and the issues that arise when interacting and building more of a sort of rapport and a relationship with the funded project teams. And whilst I really care about every single one of the 269 projects that are being funded in Fund 7, there's absolutely no way that I can you know, have a really strong connection to every single one of those projects. Whereas if there's someone like Patrick or Melanie or Ruslan or Joey or Amelia that can help to be that sort of beacon and help to get the information and the insights from those funded teams and then be able to communicate those back, that's going to be a much more efficient process. So yeah, what's at stake and what's in it for the challenge team member or members? Well, we expect you to be paid for your time and your efforts. And so this is why there is now a remuneration package that's actually quite a bit more than what it was in Fund 7. It's double. And that's partly because we think there's going to be double the amount of projects, give or take, in a challenge that will be funded. Okay, so what do you have to do as a challenge team? Well, there's 3 key deliverables. We've talked a lot about, you know, how this is about maximizing the impact and the challenge and how you're going to be looking to surface these outcomes. Now, the current deliverables for Fund 7 have been that the first deliverable is around the fund launch. Now, let's not beat around the bush. Let's address the white elephant in the room. As of today, Fund 8 is basically launched. And the proposal submission step will happen in a little over a week's time from now. So what we are intending on doing is hopefully offering next week's town hall as an opportunity for those that have expressed their interest or already committed to being a challenge team member for Fund 8 to be able to contribute a 1-minute presentation about the challenge. We'll talk about, you know, the specifics of that in a minute. So that's town hall presentation. That's deliverable number 1. And then there's the cohort onboarding phase. So in 3 months' time from now, when the voting has taken place, the tallies have been made, the results have been published, and all has been said and done, and we know how many funded project teams are coming into Fund 8 coordinator, we then host a number of onboarding meetings. And, you know, the intention is for challenge teams to be part and present at those meetings to welcome and onboard those teams that are in that cohort for the challenge. So, you know, it's about welcoming the teams in, it's about communicating what the challenge intention is, and making sure that they feel supported and initiated into the Catalyst coordinator. And then the main deliverable is this ROI retrospective. And so over the course of the 3 months, and you'll have to forgive me, maybe these hours, maybe the amount of time that's spent, maybe this isn't correct for Fund 8, but it is certainly the slides from Fund 7. So we need to learn from this. And this ROI retrospective component is the main deliverable, really, because this is where the challenge teams over the course of the next 3 months, from when the funding has been announced, the funded teams have been announced. This is where they start to build some rapport and relationship with those teams, And then particularly as those projects begin to close out or are coming near to the end of the 3 months in the execution phase, we hope that the challenge teams can start drawing upon those last 3 months and generating insights and preparing communications to be able to share with the community. So just to sort of say that these 3 deliverables here, they're very much, these are the deliverables from Fund 7, and we're going to carry them over into Fund 8, but the timings might change. So let's just dive into each deliverable very quickly. So Fund 1, deliverable number 1. This is a presentation to a live town hall audience. So this will be next week. So this is for the Fund 8 challenge teams. They will have about a minute or so to present what the challenge is, you know, what are its measures of success, why it's important, and we will do that for all the challenges. So there's a little bit of preparation that needs to be to go on to get that done. Obviously, there's town hall to show up and attend, and also, you know, some work in the background ahead of town hall to really get your 1 minute presentation right. We will share details on a template and a format for that. Probably tomorrow, I would imagine, to Fund 8 challenge team members. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, and what we're going to do next. Then, as I said, when we get to this execution phase, so once the funded teams are announced, we have this execution phase. Everybody's meeting up during the onboarding meetings. We expect the challenge teams to sort of develop a bit of rapport and relationship, and we're encouraging everybody to share contact details and keep in touch over the course of the next 3 months. And really, it's the challenge team's priority to really set the tone and yeah, establish what the intentions are. Remind everybody what the key performance indicators are for the challenge. And, you know, you guys as the challenge team member, you're going to be the ones that are more likely to spot opportunities for teams to collaborate. You're going to have a better understanding of who's doing what, maybe where there is similarities between projects, or where there's gaps within project teams, and maybe they would make a better, they would deliver a better outcome if they were to collaborate in some capacity. So again, yeah, there's an estimated effort time of 3 hours attached to that. Again, that might change, you know, dependent on the number of teams that are being funded. But, you know, again, that's the reason why we're increasing the remuneration amount, right? So don't pay too much attention to the estimated effort here. And then the third deliverable, as we sort of said, this is about, yeah, a synthesis of the information, assimilating a perspective and helping to communicate to the community whether or not that challenge's return on intention has been met, whether we're on the way to delivering it, or, you know, whether there's some really, you know, big flaws or gaps within being able to achieve that challenge's ROI. And I think that's really going to help to determine whether or not in future funds, those sorts of KPIs and those measures of success need to be more carefully thought through, or whether or not, you know, that challenge and the funding associated with it maybe needs to change in order for it to be achievable, to be a success. Again, we sort of allocate 15 hours for this, but in a world where there's maybe double the amount of projects, you could expect that maybe there's more time that's going to be required to work with those sorts of teams to deliver those sorts of outcomes for this deliverable. I've kept all the challenges for Fund 8 in these slides, and each one of these has a link to the idea scale challenge. So I'll share the link again for those of you that have just joined us recently, or if someone else could share the slides in the chat, that would be really good. And then, yeah, you can double click into any of those challenges, get a bit more of an understanding as to whether it floats your boat, whether you feel that you've got the skills or expertise or appetite and interest to be a challenge team member. And we really do think that there's a value in collaboration. So it shouldn't be a challenge team. There isn't a team if you're just a single challenge team proposer or challenge team member, should I say. There's no I in team, right? So I think, yeah, if you are a sole challenge team member, I would encourage you to reach out to the community and see who else can come and help just to share the load. Danny, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that the links we've had included in the primary deck today, those are to the original submissions as the proposals in the Fund 7. But if you want to get the fresh look, idea scale front page is now loaded with these new challenges that will open tomorrow for the insight sharing stage. So if you just go to the homepage now of Idea Scale, you will see all of them with pretty pictures and all in one interface as well.
Amazing, thanks, Danny. Yeah, and then moving on. So yeah, all of the challenges are in these two slides. When we were talking about the challenge team, when we were talking to all the challenge teams last week, ahead of the onboarding, we let them know, as I said, this isn't a monitoring or a project management role, but we are intending on sharing the monthly reports that each funded team, each funded proposer needs to complete to get the next stage of funding. And so this should hopefully help to give the challenge teams a little bit of an insight as to whether or not the project is on track, or whether there are any potential issues with it that maybe would be useful to be aware of. And we're encouraging teams to, funded projects for any one of the challenges, to share evidence of their delivery that we can then share with the community. So again, that can help build the challenge team insights and analysis of whether the challenge is being delivered as a success. But again, it's not a project management role, just to make that really, really clear. I've included a slide which just gives an outline of the sorts of steps that challenge teams might go through in terms of their interaction with the IOG team or the funded proposers, and who's responsible for what. This gives you a pretty good flavor for the sorts of activities, and by and large, it's a responsive role, right? So the funded team completes the monthly reports. We then intend to share those monthly reports with the challenge teams. You can have a look at it. Hopefully the challenge teams have set up some sort of regular, maybe monthly call, or they're joining the coordinator meetings every 2 weeks. You can facilitate those discussions in the breakout rooms where each of the funded teams is proposing or each of those funded teams are giving their status updates. And yeah, and then if there are any sort of issues raised, then we've got an open door policy within IOG to let us know, and then we can maybe take a bit of a view on what steps need to be done. Danny, do you want to make a point as well?
No, I forgot to lower my hand, and I just realized.
Now, I've got some resources here in this slide. This can give you some ideas as to some of the discussion that's been had so far. There's a Miro board there. There's a whole lot of things on that Miro board. Everybody's got viewer rights on it. And yeah, we've taken some steps to work with the challenge teams to unpack their expectations, what they sort of feel about the workload and the process in place. And we've taken some steps to then address some of those points that have come out of that. So it is very much a work in progress, I just wanted to say. And then I believe Danny's preparing a form to be shared at some point, and we'll have a Q&A now. And then basically this form that we're going to share in a moment, if what you've heard about challenge team so far sounds like you'd be a good fit for it, we've got an expression of interest that you can complete. where you can signal which of the challenges you would want to participate in as a Fund 8 challenge team member. What I should say is that the proposers of each of those challenges for Fund 8, they have first dibs on who's going to be that they're going to be in the challenge team. And then if they feel like they need additional support, then we can use this this responses from this expression of interest form to then be able to pick people and bring them into the challenge team. But, you know, I think by and large, there will be a lot of opportunity for new community members to participate and collaborate, because, you know, there's going to be a whole lot of work that's going to need to be done, and, you know, sharing the load makes light work. I hopefully like to think. But that's about all I wanted to say for the time being. I want to hand over to Q&A now, or just for anybody to then sort of give thoughts and feelings. And please, challenge teams, you know, help me out. Like if you want to answer a question that someone's got, then yeah, just speak up. Does anybody have any questions to start with? Petra, how you doing?
Hello, Chris. Hello. It's pretty clear, well, all you said. Just one question about the final reporting. Is it done in Google Doc form, or what are the expectations there?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we've kind of left that pretty loose. I think, you know, first and foremost, you'll be invited to come and share your insights at Town Hall. So, you know, you should be thinking about how you can visually represent some of these insights, I believe. Hopefully there'll be some cool data points that you can lean into. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any real set format for how we would expect the report to be at the end of the 3 months, but certainly an opportunity to present at Town Hall is one way. Maybe you want to record a video, maybe it's something that's a bit more longer form, maybe there's an actual written report or some sort of research that comes out of it. But again, you know, we're not expecting this to be, you know, weeks and weeks worth of work. Hence why there's, you know, maybe going to be somewhere between 15 to 30 hours that's allocated for this effort. But it's a good question. I think it's a case-by-case basis, really. Some challenges are going to maybe produce really nitty-gritty data. Others might be a little bit more, you know, qualitative rather than quantitative. So, yeah, I think hopefully that's I know it's a bit of a vague answer, but the first and foremost, Town Hall, and then however you want to communicate these outputs to the community is entirely up to the challenge team. And I think I would encourage there being sort of knowledge sharing between challenge teams. Like trying to get best practices. I mean, we would encourage the challenge teams to maybe find a time, at least once during the process, to try and come together and have a challenge team town hall, maybe just for you guys, just to share some ideas and know-how.
Yes, I believe I see your point. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Patrick, did you have your hand up as well?
Yes, but I have too many questions. So I'll start with the most important one. How a challenge team can catch the funded proposals apart from the onboarding that we had yesterday?
Good question. So we will take it upon ourselves within the Catalyst team to share contact details with the challenge team. So you know, we can't just blanket just send it all out, but we have asked within the onboarding form that if anybody has an issue or wants to opt out of having their contact details shared, that they do so. But essentially over the next couple of days, every challenge team from Fund 7 will be receiving all of the contact details unless otherwise opted out for their challenge.
Yeah, and then my following question / suggestion was, can we have a mailing? So since we provided our mailing list when you were requested to join as challenge team members, can we have a mailing list to reach the challenge team members because then there is the next statement, but that would be a good one. Mail is a great tool to filter content.
It's a great idea. I think we won't have too much of a problem in being able to figure out how we do that. I'm sure we'll be able to circulate emails for each of the challenge teams amongst each other.
The third idea / question is about a more effective container. So do we have a container, for instance, a forum where we can get in touch? And let me explain the idea. I explain you later why I believe that Telegram is not a good media, but let's say that we can use Telegram, we can use mail, and but still is like a point-to-point conversation. And if you have a forum, say that you subscribe to a given channel, I don't know, Fund 7 dApps and integrations, then on that forum, it's basically a message between the challenge team members that are kind of moderators and all the funded proposers. And that is something where if I'm a funded proposer, I can see the other interacting, asking questions, I can learn. It's not just lost in 1,600 messages unread in Telegram.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm all for experimentation, right? We're not prescriptive around this. The prescription is the deliverables, and then how people want to self-organize and self-determine what are the right ways to do things. It's entirely up to you. I mean, we're all for it, and if you can get some good best practice out of that. I mean, yeah. What do other people think?
Yeah,
I think sorry, Jonathan. I think the prescription is just do it. That's how we get it done.
Exactly. John?
Yeah, I think it's a case of using the tools that are available. So Telegram is the chosen tool for several things at the moment. There are Discord bots that will bring Telegram chats, conversations through into it, and cross-link, so they're both kept up to date. So that's one way of setting up your Discord server. And what I quite like to see is, I think Telegram's a very good broadcast medium. So it should perhaps be a one-way communication tool for IOG to send out information that isn't conversational, perhaps. But then the Discord conversations can be based around Discord versions of those broadcast mediums. And that's certainly one way that I've set up my service to try and track this sort of thing. For the challenge teams, we've got a new Discord server that we're running just for global SBOs, and it's not taken off yet because we only met the guys this week, but we're hoping that will start to be a model that we can then use for additional teams going forward, trying to keep people engaged and not overloaded and accessible still.
Yeah, I love it. And then we'll learn from this over the course of the next few weeks, and hopefully, yeah, you're able to lead the path to help others to be able to take those steps, right? Nana, have you got a question as well?
Yeah, I have a question. I just want you to clarify, is there any cap on the number of people to be assigned to a challenge team? In Fund 7, for instance, there was 5 to a challenge team. So I'm wondering, now that the rewards has increased, does it mean that the numbers is also going to increase? Because in your submission, you did mention that it is presumed that the workload might be much more because a lot of people that might be publicly funded in the challenge team. So that is why you guys that is why the reward is being multiplied. So now, does that apply to the number of participants as well, or it is still the 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think there's a fine line between the sort of the expectations of being able to like deliver good outcomes, and then spreading the load so thinly maybe that it's difficult to then be able to mate, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather someone else answer that, because there is no number that's like hard and fast number. I think it's also like getting remunerated for the level of effort and work. I mean, has anybody else got any thoughts or feelings about that?
It was really hard to understand. So kind of, if you can repeat again.
I'll repeat the question. Is there a cap on how many people that can participate as a challenge team? That's the nuts and bolts of the question. Yeah, it's we sort of had some ideas about it. You know, if we had,
I think 7 would be a good one, like an agile scrum team. The number of people that can effectively communicate tends to be between 4 and 7.
there you go. There you go. So yeah, I mean, and I would say that's probably pretty reasonable, isn't it? Like if you've got 20 projects in a challenge, I think what the nation building DApps challenge had, what, 22 funded projects, was it? If I remember rightly. Might have just made that number up.
Right.
But
It seems like the more funded proposals, the more folks in the challenge team you would need. But Patrick, I think, is also right. You know, more than 7 on your team, then you're starting to manage the communication within the challenge team itself.
yeah, exactly. You're trying to manage the stewards, and that becomes quite difficult.
I'd also like to suggest that, you know, because it's not a full-time job, people come in and out. And, you know, the number could be a little bit higher than that. And then at the end of the day, you go, you know, I was able to do 3 hours of work. Jonathan was able to do 18. So we portion it out that way. I think that if we prescribe a certain number, you can work towards it, but also be willing to invite others to your team, because you never know, that person could be the missing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Melanie. Nana, are you because you're sort of struggling at the moment, aren't you? Like you would benefit from having more people in your team. Is that right?
I used to, but now it looks like most of them have actually dropped. So I'm trying to build a team again. And I think what Melanie said earlier on is actually just a good point. You know, along the line, some will drop for any reason, you know, and it is always good to also look out for people who are passionate about your challenge, and then if need be that you onboard them, you surely get them on board and then get them running, because you cannot simply because maybe 1 or 2 people drop out of your challenge team doesn't mean everything should come to a halt. No, you need to still keep the fire burning. So it is always good to you know, look out for people who are passionate about your challenge team, and then you know, when they need be that you're on board to fill up any loophole, you just do that, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's really, really wise. Great.
I have joined Nana's team as well, so I'm there to help.
Good stuff, Dimitri. Great to hear that.
So I see 2 issues. Continuity from fund to fund, and the fire hose of communication. You know, the Telegram chat, I did do the link in there that there is a challenge team Telegram chat. I don't know if there's a challenge team, generic challenge team Discord that would be just, you know, managed by somebody. Goes from fund to fund, all the links, all the communications coming out of that. It's just a suggestion, you know, because we all communicate differently and we get used to these platforms. I've just seen it in our own case with Cardano for Climate, and needing that central place to connect and then send out. I don't have the answers. I don't think we have the answers quite yet, but as we move into more community, unless IOHK is actually starting these, and initiating these communication channels, if it moves more towards a community managed situation, you're going to want some collaboration between the two, and something coming up from the community to solve that.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe in the first couple of instances of challenge teams, we can help to facilitate. I mean, Danny, I can sort of see that maybe we've just added another item to TK's backlog, perhaps.
Yeah, and like that's totally doable. The way how I'm trying to look at it as of recent, just to offer another perspective, is that I don't think it's in IO's interest, and I don't think it's in anybody's interest to be always shepherding these things. Over the course of the past year, we're trying to sort of like push things more and more, so there's like a greater collective ownership of the things which are happening. And point in being is that a lot of those rules are loose on purpose. So we're not sort of like self-imposing the structure from the top, because then just like we have all of those, different members throughout all of these different communities, there's also different challenge teams with their own workflows. And then there's the unique subset of projects. And in that sense, like applying one thing which would apply to all of them, it's a bit more complicated. So like the challenge, the Telegram as such, I've been treating it mostly as informative medium in together with the emails, where I'm not trying to turn it into the fire hose potentially, but then I would very much enjoy seeing those different pockets to like organically start putting up. We can definitely help with it, but I'm just going to flag it in the sense that we are out of capacity because we're literally growing in so many different directions that keeping up in all of those different discords and communities and telegrams and etc. It's I'm losing touch with it as such, and no additional members will help me then at the end of the day to build a structure that would actually sustain that individual community in place. And I think that's the goal as such. So just one caveat in that sense, that like very much would love to help, but it needs to transition at the soonest in terms of like to some community managed platform. Also because we're trying to decentralize that element as well. And I think we're seeing a lot of different pockets in the community stepping up and just taking those leadership roles out of our hands. And I think that's the beautiful thing to see. And I just want to see more of that because, we're in catalyst bubble still, and we need to push and spread it out to the edges of the entire Cardano ecosystem as well. And us doing all those things doesn't scale as much and as quickly as if it's done organically from the bottom up. So that's just like my take on it. It definitely can help, but it's not something that we're able to actively manage at this point anymore, because it's just, there's so many of you and there's so many different beautiful things happening at the same time. So it's overwhelming, even for us now.
Torsten, you had a hand up, and then maybe Rodolfo and Patrick.
Perhaps a quick comment on that one, just kind of like a perspective from a challenge team point of view. I think everything which we do kind of has an evolution from kind of like putting the seed in the ground and then see it grow, and then kind of it more or less sustains some roots, and then it more or less can stand on its own. This process in itself is actually a tremendously long-winded one, and it was in the beginning not really clear where that work falls into place now. And once you have been through that, you now understand retrospectively what has to happen. But I mean, if you think back, it's kind of like, I don't know, 8 weeks since we had presentations, getting into work. So this making sure that the seed in itself has enough water and grows up is probably kind of a little bit also with the communication. It's like, of course, the touch points are so light and so thinly spread out. This one important message is the one which you just don't catch because there is too much coming along. So that's common, and perhaps you have to nurture that for a while and then say, okay, when things are run on their own, kind of let them run, let them pick up. So that's that one on that side, and I've effectively two more ideas on that, and one comment. it's a tremendously long period of time from your commitment before you see effectively that coming to an end. And that is a challenge in itself, because everyone is kind of having a busy life and you're committing to something for 6 months down the road, which you don't even know anything about. So, and perhaps we have to think about how we more or less kind of build in more touch points, and it probably is something which will grow over time, kind of like how we are shifting left more into this phase of, okay, now people are kind of getting into creating effective data proposals and so on. So my thinking on that one is we probably have to kind of naturally or unnaturally, I don't know, bring more touch points into this phase before this work really starts. And it almost feels like that these are two different phases, like up to the getting funded and then more or less do the other thing. And the only touch point is actually, oh yeah, it's the same challenge, but it might be actually two different things. And it felt a bit unnatural for me. Like there was an engagement in the beginning and then there was a long line where nothing happened. And now it more or less starts why is sudden all kicking in. So perhaps we have to break it into two pieces. Yeah, someone who is more or less doing the mentoring and making sure that people kind of get in the best chance to have a good shot, because I think a lot of people also struggle on, like, I haven't been through that a few times, so how do I do this? And they fall effectively through the cracks because they are competing against the professionals, if you know what I mean, kind of have been through the process a few times. And then on the other side, this reporting bit, which is new for every one of us. I don't want to break it right now, but this is my thought I have. And the last one is, I just signed up for Fund 8 because I want to do this again, because one time around is not good enough to have the experience. So, and that's probably something which we also have to bake into that one, that it reflects a little bit to what Melanie said. We have to get to a level of understanding the process and what's going on to make it actually work. It's almost like if you give the apprentice in the accounting department a job for a week and then move them on to the next one, onto the next one, onto the next one, you never mature to the level where you really unfold your full potential. So perhaps thinking about signing up and the length of the process and how we break that more down and make it more helpful for people kind of to mature and find their passion in that. That's my comment.
It's a really, really good point. Yeah, +1 to all of that, Torsten. I think there's value in just sticking with it and just seeing how it kind of goes, and then where the bend and flex needs to be. And but you know, we do need to recognize that that's quite a long commitment and period of time for sure. I'd like to think that with now the Fund 7 Accelerators and Mentors Challenge and the projects that are coming from that, of which we've got a couple of people here in the room that, you know, are funding recipients for that challenge. Yoram, I'm looking at you. That, you know, we're going to have some of the people that are, you know, looking to create more of these sorts of touch points and these sorts of engagements throughout, you know, the fund cycle and, you know, into the execution phase, right? And so maybe there'll be, you know, certainly with that challenge, talked about this at length, but, you know, the intention was when I wrote it was, it should be a co-creation process. I don't just think it's a co-creation process with IOG, co-creation process with the community, right? And if you as challenge teams are sort of stewards of the challenge and you are sort of acting as light touch mentors-ish, because you're the point of contact, the ones that care about the challenge, then maybe there's a lot of value in the those accelerator and incubation partners that are coming through the process to speak with you and you know, learn from your insights. I mean,
I get it.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's kind of, we did it the first way around. Something works out, something breaks. It's an experiment, and that's actually kind of a lessons learned. And kind of that's a good thing. And I think the next round will be having more maturity. And if you have done it a few times, you probably kind of there will be tweaks. I think the 1 in 3 or 4 funds will be different than the one which we had this time. So
yeah, just a small remark on that. I mean, at the same time, things are growing so fast, right? I mean, so it's not that things are staying the same. So actually, we need to continue and actually build system for the growth as well. So maybe next 3 months will look completely different. I don't know, for a lot of things. So just a remark about that as well. But it's a very exciting area to be in.
Thanks, Jerome. Rodolfo, how are you doing?
Krishna, hi, how you doing? So I jumped late, so I don't know if you already talked about that. My question is a issue really regarding the decentralized ID and the self-sovereign ID challenges, because they're quite similar. So I think we need to, match the challenge teams or something. What do you think about that?
Hey, I'll tell you what, I've got someone even better than me to answer that question. Anushka, how do you fancy coming off of mute and introducing yourself?
Hi, Rodolfo. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. So I think Peter
Anushka, why don't you tell everybody who you are first?
Oh, sorry. So I've recently joined IO as the product manager for ecosystem. And so I'm trying to figure out the training for Atala Prism as well as the catalyst cycles and how the two of them coordinate. So one of the things we will be doing is supporting the Fund 7 winners that are coming through, and we're figuring that out, everything on the go. But more to Rodolfo's point is we acknowledge that our challenges may be quite similar. Peter Wilhaber has raised that with the team. And yeah, we're definitely happy to work together. What I've already done earlier today was commit to 2 workshops early next week. The one is on Monday and the one is on Tuesday to accommodate the East and West of the world. So what we can do is maybe hook up. Shall I put my email address on the chat, and then you can grab it from there and send me an email?
Okay, I'm on the cell phone, so I don't know if I can grab it. Maybe someone can send me a DM on another Telegram or something. Danny, I grab it.
You, Danny, can you connect them? Is that possible? Do you mind?
On it. Don't worry, Rodolfo. I got you.
Okay, thank you. So on Monday, I think on Monday I'm gonna be on a plane, but on Tuesday I can jump to this Zoom call.
Okay. And then maybe this week we can still catch up and then just see how we can synergize.
Yeah.
And then maybe that could help. So yeah, Daniel, I am online now. So you're welcome to just pop me a Slack message with Rodolfo's details.
Yeah, I have his Telegram as well. So like, if you just paste me their email, I'll ship him.
Okay, cool. I'll do that now.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right, thanks a lot.
Oh, welcome. So Anushka, you actually had your hand up anyway. Was there something that you wanted to mention anyway, in any case?
Yes. So, based on the roadmap that we're busy working on for Atala Prism, we do want to craft a Catalyst 9 challenge. And my understanding is that also happens during these 4 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So how does that happen? Does it follow like in terms of insight sharing and trying to craft this challenge, does that happen with another challenge owner? Or is this something we just do on our own?
Well, I mean, actually, Melanie, you had some views on this yesterday, didn't you? That we were talking about challenge teams for the challenge setting challenge. I mean, I think really my gut instinct is that it's such a broad area that there's not going to be one person that's a natural fit, or a few people that's a natural fit, because it could be community focused, it could be marketing related, it could be ID, it could be integrations, it could be anything. I think maybe the best thing to do is just be around and aware of what's going on in the insight sharing week, and then you kind of problem sense with everybody else. You just get some thoughts and feelings about it, and then there's 3 weeks to put forward the next challenge. And you know, I don't think there's anybody that's in this room that wouldn't, you know, want to contribute their sort of inputs to help you to figure out where the priorities may be lying. I'm sure there are so many people here that would just raise their hand, stick an emoji up, and let Anushka know that if you know, you want to contribute some ideas, that you've got some. I mean, it's a pretty organic process for the insight sharing, I believe. And actually the insight sharing is often about the current challenges on the current fund roster, and then you know, seeing where maybe the gaps or the need for better clarification around certain components of what's in the challenge in Fund 8. And then it also serves as a platform to inspire for Fund 9, I think, as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. I think I like what you say about using the insight sharing week to formulate the ideas, because we can just use those 4 hours of workshops that we've set up to actually start sharing insights, and then also gather some input into our Catalyst 9 challenge. Thanks, Kriss. That's clever.
Very, very welcome. So yeah, everybody else's wisdom, I think. Everybody else has probably been through the process quite a fair bit. So if anybody's got any thoughts or feelings about that, then feel free to share.
So we have a very loose challenge team, challenge setting challenge team. It kind of formed last at the beginning of Fund 7, just waiting for everything to settle down. We have started a Telegram chat, so anybody is welcome. There's not a lot of information there, but if there's any kind of community coordination, around that, and jump in. Let's see what happens.
Okay, thank you. I'll make sure I go onto Telegram and look. So what group do I join on Telegram?
I dropped the link in the chat, if you can see it there, and that's the easiest way. I don't do that other one that you were talking about, Slack. Yes.
I'll share the link with you, Anushka, because I noticed you're on the phone and the chat is tricky, so I'm copying it over to Slack.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Patrick, have you got a question?
Yes, but I brought my question for the last 15 minutes. Let me try to be quick. Melanie, you mentioned that the tools for facilitating communication. Thorsten, you mentioned that there are extremely long time for committing to get a result, and this is about probably having tools to support us communicate. So from my point of view, if there is no action from IOG or Catalyst, then this is a topic for open standards and interoperability, and please submit your ideas. In the meantime, I'm trying to get some guys from a big old open source project that is using the forums as communication channel. So the vice president of the Eclipse Foundation. I want them to create a proposal to create a forum for Cardano in the same way that they did for Eclipse. I saw it was working with, they have like 180 projects from a lot of companies. And these companies were fighting among them, not like us, but they are collaborating. Whatever. The point is that in a forum, we can access communication in an organized way. It's an ugly platform, but it's working since several years to manage this complex system. Now, about the benefits of a forum. It's a tool made for communicating asynchronously, organizing knowledge, and performing searches. It's a single tool that you can use to handle all the communication. The communication can be tree structured, so you can have Fund 8, challenge, and then a specific project. Or you can have a general a category, and then you can have advisors, communities, challenge teams, and you can pin messages on the top. So people like me that are always losing the link to the town hall, they can easily get there. But the most important thing is all the communication is logged there. and yeah, whatever can be accessed on mobile or browser is moderated, has categories, and the categories can be put in a tree, and they persist information.
Hey, Patrick, I think this is one for insight sharing as part of next week's efforts in town hall. I really appreciate you bringing the idea to the group. I'm just conscious of time. So yeah, I hope you don't mind me stopping you in flow, but I look forward to reading the proposal. And yeah, I do agree that there's tooling that needs to be built and developed around this, to increase sort of engagement and participation for sure.
I don't have time for this proposal in these 3 months because I'm relocating from a state to another and changing job, but we'll find somebody that will take on the proposal, which is really dear, is really important for me.
Good luck. Okay, and good luck on the move. I hope it's not so torturous. I know how.
It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to rejoin my family all the days instead of traveling every weekend.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, good luck on that. So I'm going to suggest that we've got probably about another 5 or so minutes before we close down the room, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
Nana, I see your hands up, and then Lynn, we haven't heard from Lynn yet. So Nana, what's your question?
I actually thought Melanie was going to ask the question, but it looks like she didn't ask. I just wanted to clarify so that the new members here can actually get exactly what it is like. So as a challenge team member, are you allowed to put proposals in the same challenge that you are stewarding?
So right now there is no restrictions stopping challenge team members from proposing. Ultimately, the voting is done by the community. Challenge team members are the ones that are passionate about the challenge, so maybe know a lot about both the problems and what the potential solutions are. And there's been no sort of policy put in place or decided upon by community nor IOG to change that currently. Danny, I'm right in saying that, aren't I?
Sure, thanks.
We haven't changed anything in the last 24 hours.
No, we're not. And like you said earlier, it's trying to figure out, what are the boundaries by actually learning by doing in an essence. We know what we want to achieve with it. How we do it, well, we have yet to figure it out collectively, and everybody's part of the answer, to be honest.
Exactly that. The community, it's likely to be something that, you can imagine will end up being voted on by the circle or by the community as part of some sort of improvement process, as to whether or not to put into place those sorts of conflicts or restrictions. But it's not the case today. Lynn, how are you? Good to see you. Good morning.
And good morning. Quick question for not need to run out of time. I think that's for Danny. Daniel, I think. For the form for Fund A challenge, if I assume that I'm not in the proposal of the challenge written, so we do nothing until the noon of UTC today. No, my time is today already. Your time is still 16. So until the 17 UTC, that we do nothing, right?
Go ahead. You can submit the form already. Because
we don't wait.
Yeah, because we know who the proposers and co-proposers of those challenge teams are.
Yes.
We've emailed them with an advance notice to basically the emails which are associated to their Idea Scale accounts, informing them about the fact that they have up until tomorrow, Thursday, 11 or noon UTC, well, midday UTC generally. And then we're going to see what was the initial signups, and then publish those findings so that we can go through that matching exercise that we did in the previous round as well. We're going to publish like a spreadsheet to see who responded to which, because in the future it might be that if you're a challenge team, you're actually proposing those things forward as well. So here's another thing you can already be thinking starting from next week about like which challenge would you like to carry over towards the next voting cycle as well. But you don't have to wait. Fill in the form.
Okay.
That way you have another box ticked. so you don't forget about it by chance. And then in the next couple of days, we'll be in touch, and I'll be publishing like a spreadsheet to see like where things landed. And then we're gonna try to shake it out to even out the teams. That will be entirely up to everyone to figure out who and how to form it.
That's it for me for the morning. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to see you, Lynn. Dimitri, I think you may have the last question, perhaps.
Yeah, so I had an earlier question whether there are any proposals here. If they indicated, then we could reach out and see whether they immediately need people on their team. That was my first question. My second question is I'm trying to fill out the form, but it keeps telling me failed to get recapture something. And I don't know whether I'm supposed to reload the form, in which case I'd probably lose everything I've typed. So what do I do about that?
I would copy and paste what you've already written into another document and then refresh the form. But don't do that refreshing until you copy and paste it into another document.
Yeah, I'm looking at the back end. It seems to be receiving the responses. I think we have a bunch of them already, so it seems to function as well. It might be something local. You know, it's a piece of technology that often gets confusing, even on our end as well. So sorry for the trouble, but like Kriss said, copy it over to the Google or to another, like a notepad or something of sorts that you can just reload. And in case it does not save the information, that you can just push it back. Yeah, things may break. Apologies, Dmitry, and thank you for your time.
And I think on that note, I want to thank everybody for their time this evening or this morning or yesterday or today or tomorrow. I think, you know, we've covered quite a lot. There's obviously the slides. I'll reshare them one more time so everybody's got them. There are, you know, if you've got any questions, I think the easiest thing to do is to try to communicate them amongst the community first and foremost, because what's really clear is that us within IOG don't have all the answers. And, you know, in the spirit of decentralization, sort of crowd sourcing collective intelligence, I think we can probably come to some good resolutions and some ideas if we share these ideas as far and wide as we can, right? Or certainly the questions and sense where the problems are. There are, you know, a number of challenge team members and that I'm sure are very active members of the community and that are pretty available and around. So I'm sure if you put questions around challenge teams into either the challenge team's Telegram or the Catalyst Telegram chat, people will pick it up. So that's really sort of calling out to those that are fairly new to the process. I'm looking around the room and I can see quite a lot of veterans. So I'm sure
could someone drop in that challenge team's Telegram, please, onto the chat or something?
Sure. Danny might be able to get to it quicker than I can. Or if anybody else has got it to hand, perhaps they can help. Wonderful. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. See, Sharon's caring. And yeah, I just want to say thanks again for everybody with their, you know, great wisdom, challenging questions sometimes. So we don't have the answers yet. This is about iterations and improving as we go on. Looking forward to seeing who's stepped up to the plate for Fund 8 challenge teams with the, you know, putting their hat into the ring with this form and then looking to formulate those teams over the next couple of weeks. And certainly looking forward to seeing Fund 7 challenge teams being able to share wisdom over the course of the next few months. And I think on that note, we can draw it to a bit of a close. Thank you very much, everybody.
And thank you, Kriss, for all the information. And thank you, Danny. See you around.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the conversation, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Nushka. Thanks,
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.